Well, the countdown continues in another race that we're following closely. This one to replace Prime Minister Justin Trudeau as the leader also of the Liberal Party. But despite the majority of support from Liberal caucus for, it seems, Mark Carney and Chrystia Freeland, Karina Gould is looking to be potentially the dark horse in a race that she hopes will unify federal Liberals. Karina Gould, welcome to CP24 Breakfast this morning. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's talk about your party. Indeed, it's lagging pretty significantly in the polls recently. What do you see as the biggest issue facing the Liberal Party of Canada right now?
Well, look, if we're being honest, I think one of the reasons why we're lagging in the polls is because Canadians have lost trust in us as a government. And that's something that can happen after 9 years in government, but it's also because they want to feel heard and they want us to be focused on the issues that matter to them. And so I think for us, what we have to do is we have to re-earn that trust by listening to Canadians and focusing on what matters. And for me, that's really affordability. I mean, people are struggling to make ends meet. They've been telling us as a government for a couple of years that they need help with this. And so my big push is that we have to do things to make life more affordable for Canadians.
Some of that trust also seems tied to the outgoing leader, Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister and leader of the party here. You've been part of that government since day one in 2015. How will you try to separate yourself from Justin Trudeau while also appealing to Liberals who either do like Justin Trudeau or are happy to see him leaving?
Well, so I think it's also about what we've been able to accomplish. And, you know, I'm very proud of a lot of what we have done. I was responsible for negotiating the childcare agreement, for example, here in Ontario, which has saved thousands of dollars for households across this province and across the country. Proud of things like the Canada Child Benefit, and I'm proud of what we've done on fighting climate change, but there's more that we need to do. So when I think about, for example, here in Toronto and in the GTA, you know, we didn't act fast enough when it came to public safety, when it came to things like auto theft, when it came to things like the rise in crime, and we need to do more in that space. Also, when it comes to when Canadians were saying at the end of the pandemic that they were suffering with inflation, we eventually got there, but it took us too long. And so I think it's about recognizing where we went wrong, the mistakes that we made, and acknowledging that that's okay that we did that. And what I bring to the table is I'm not too proud to say we've made mistakes. I'm listening to you, and here's how I'm going to be different moving into the future in a way that is beneficial for Canadians.
You've mentioned a couple of times, alluded to sort of affordability issues facing Canadians right now. One thing that distinguishes you from, for example, Mark Carney and Chrystia Freeland is that you have said you're not going to scrap the consumer-facing carbon tax right now. That is something that a lot of people have said that's part of the affordability issue here. Why have you said you won't do that, and don't you think that seems essential to sort of move on for the Liberal Party?
Well, I think we have to be honest with Canadians. I mean, just because Pierre Poilievre says something doesn't mean it's true, and in fact, it's often not.
But Carney and Freeland also have said the same thing.
But I mean, I'm going to be honest with Canadians. When we talk about the price on pollution, that's, you know, responsible for a big chunk of our emissions reduction. I hear Canadians when they say now is not the time to increase the price, and that's why I said I'm going to cancel the increase as of April 1st. But until we have a plan to replace that 10 to 15% of our emissions reductions, I don't think it's a responsible thing for us to do. And remember, here in Ontario and other provinces, people also get the carbon rebate. So for people here in our community, that's up to $1,200 a year that they get in return from the federal government. And so until you actually have a plan to replace that, I think we have to have an honest conversation with Canadians about what our climate policies look like, what our affordability policies look like. But I'm not just going to get rid of something because Pierre Poilievre has, you know, basically told mistruths to Canadians about it. And what I bring to the table is an honest conversation and to be transparent about it. And what I would say is that while, you know, we can absolutely and we should increase the industrial price on pollution, that's also not going to make up the difference. And where I'm glad Mark Carney has followed my lead on this is, because I announced this over 3 weeks ago, so I'm glad he's getting with the program here, is that we need to do things to help Canadians make the choices that they want to make. So I would bring back and increase the rebate for electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles. I would include gas hybrids in that, because anything we are doing to reduce our emissions is a good thing. And I would bring back the home energy retrofit program. So, you know, we have to, Canadians care about fighting climate. They care about making environmentally friendly choices, but I want to make it more affordable and more possible for them to make those choices.
Okay, just over a month to go in the race. We'll see what happens on March 9th. Karina Gould, appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.